Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining me today for this webinar. The first we are delivering towards our partner, and I named it Seize the Opportunity because I want to give you a taste of what we are together going to address and what we are sitting on as an opportunity where we can do genuine business together. I am Laurent Gentil. I am Channel Director for CryptoNext, and I will be with you for this webinar. So this webinar is being recorded, and you will receive a link to it after the presentation. And meanwhile, as my screen is currently full screen, in case you have any question, please use the Q&A panel so I can revisit that afterwards after the end of the presentation. But feel free to post your comments or question as we go so you don't miss them as we are leaning towards the end. All right, so let's get started. So as first of an introduction of who we are, CryptoNext as a business. So we are a French headquarter company. So we are headquartered in Paris. We have been incorporated 6 years ago in 2019, and we are built on top of more than 20 years of academic research. So if you know a chap or a name called Mr. Jean-Charles Fougère, he's been working on the post-quantum stuff for more than 20 years, and he has opted in to create a business in 2019. So really, we are not just getting started. Well, we are getting started as a business, but we are built on top of very, very knowledgeable people. We are a software vendor. We are not a service provider by any means. This is not our ambition. This is not our goal. And we do rely on channel partner and partners in general in order to address the market and the blooming of this market. As you can see on this slide, on the left-hand side, you see a couple of logos such as NIST or IETF, and we are, as a company, very active in those. So participating in the contest, participating into the RFC and all of that, we are spending a fair chunk of our time for being present, being named, and if you search for it, you will find out that many CryptoNext people are actually listed on the publications of those organisms. Regarding a couple of people we work with, both customers and partners, so we are working with a bunch of organizations. Many of them are public, either they have published their work or we have been authorized to communicate, so you can find that on the news section of our website and on their respective website as well. A couple of partners mentioned in there, we are partnering with to the extent that we are effectively providing our software within their final product. So this is sort of a CryptoNext inside type of relationship. All right, let's move forward. So when we say quantum, so I do appreciate that not everybody in this call is having a proper picture of where we come from and where we are leading to. So I am willing to give you an overview of what we are really speaking about. So to start with, I have taken this screenshot from a very good website, actually, quantumpedia.uk, which I do recommend you visit in case you are interested in more details. That is really a great source of information. So why have I taken this screenshot? So you can see that there were a lot of theoretical foundation, well, starting in the 90s, really. But really emergence starting in the 80s, right? So from this period, the emergence of the quantum stuff was really a reality. And since then, it has been accelerating to the extent that we are currently in a race. So among this timeline, you can see this one, which is very top of mind when we are speaking about post-quantum cryptography, which is the short algorithm. So this algorithm, this is a theoretical application that a quantum computer can effectively break the public key encryption that we are using on a global basis nowadays and for the years to come. So really putting at risk the cryptography that we are all relying on for our confidentiality. So it's been like 30 years that we know we will have a problem at some point, and you can see that like 25 years ago, so early 2000, the race has started. So I will not be mentioning every single bullet. You can read that on your own. But obviously, big names have been announcing a lot of things, lots of good things, racing to making the quantum computer available. So it is only a matter of time before we get that thing happening, and when we will have effectively problem with our crypto system. So what are we speaking of really? what we are speaking of is called the Q day or quantum day. As you can read on the explanation of what is that thing, this is the anticipated milestone when a quantum computer will achieve the critical capability to break classical encryption, right? So it is called CLQC for crypto-relevant quantum computer, which is really a quantum computer which is strong enough for breaking the encryption that we are using with RSA and ECC, for example. So something to fear, to be clear. However, the question among the industry is it a storm in a teacup or is it the calm before the storm? Well, we believe that it is more the calm before the storm, because while the industry is believing at the moment it is more a storm in a teacup, and I will come to that in a minute. When we speak about that Q days, there are really Q forces that are opposite and that are having action on when that Q day will effectively happen. So quantum computing research is progressing like fast. I mean, there is no such a thing as a week without information or publication of an organization doing new things toward that quantum computer improvement, reliability, error correction, you name it. Meanwhile, the research for improving the Shor algorithm and other research are progressing as well. So cryptanalytic, right? So cryptanalysts, this is definitely Q forces that are opposing and that are, from what we believe, accelerating the Q day, right? So when is that going to happen? Still big question mark. Some are saying this year, as soon as 2025. Quite honestly, let's hope not. And some will say never, right? And anything in between. So there is a big uncertainty regarding when is that thing really going to happen. However, there is one thing that virtually nobody is discussing, right? Or denying. It's an attack which is happening now, which is called Harvest Now or Storm Now and Decrypt Later. So acronym for it is HNDL or SNDL. If you come across that, this is what we are speaking about. If you're not familiar with that thing, right, let's figure out that this is a time capsule. So basically you put sensitive data into a safe and you will be able to open it later in the future, right? So this is exactly what we are speaking about. Information is being stolen as we speak. So from your customer, being stored into some computer, some data center somewhere, in order to be able to be decrypted when a quantum computer will be able to break that encryption. So this is, again, the information that should be stored in a secure manner that will be opened later. And this is happening right now. So information is being stolen and will be opened when a quantum computer will be available. So something to fear. However, not to fear for everything, because we have currently a robust encryption, which is RSA and ECC. So for example, banking transaction at the moment, they are not at risk. There is not someone who can do a banking transaction without your approval, because RSA is secure for the foreseeable future. However, question mark on, well, what have you bought 5 years ago? In 5 years, that may be a question mark, right? Document signature, all of those things is a big question mark as well. So the question is, how long is the information you are trying to protect with encryption required to be secure for? Is it less than 10 years, more than 10 years? And this is determining whether you want to concern about HNDL type of attack. I will come to that in a minute. All right. So here at Cryptonics, we prefer fact and figures versus hearsays, right? We are not doing gossip. We are relying on fact and actual data. So in order to compare Apple with Apple, I have taken two analyses from Gartner, which is called the hype cycle. So if you're not familiar with that, Gartner is analyzing innovative type of technology throughout this curve and putting a dot for every single one of them. And supposedly every single innovation is going to go through all of those phases. from innovation trigger to plateau of productivity, which is basically mainstream product of the shelf. Nobody's questioning anymore what should be the capabilities for it. So if we want to compare 2023 with 2024, unfortunately, there is no such a thing as hype cycle for data security in 2024. So I have had to match two different hype cycles and find out where are the technologies from one year to another. So the first one is hype cycle for data security 2023. The second one is for deep technologies 2024. Here you see QKD, PQC, and crypto agility. So in order to make it more readable, I have put arrows. And what is important here is whether you look at QKD, you get a big jump in that curve from the start of peak of inflated expectation right into through of disillusionment, right? So a big jump throughout that curve. If you look at the color of the dot, they do expect that the technology will be plateau in 2 to 5 years. So basically quite shortly. And the same goes for PQC, so effectively post-quantum cryptography, going from the innovation trigger to already the peak of inflated expectation. And the same logic does apply for crypto agility, which is progressing quite well. However, the two differences between QKD and PQC is regarding the time frame. Plateau will be reached between 2 and 5 years. Well, we will see that most likely more closer to the 2 rather than the 5 years, but that's another question. Regarding crypto agility, this is more 5 to 10 years, which makes sense in the sense that we have to deal with the urgency to start with, and then we will have the control mechanism for supporting it. So you can see that it is all accelerating. So now a question which is very often being asked is, can a quantum computer actually break an RSA encryption key? Well, the answer has to be yes, because here is an example of Shanghai University where they managed to crack a 22 bits encryption key using a quantum computer back in October 2024. And they managed to double the key size in 4 months that they have been cracking by cracking an RSA 50 bits in February 2025. So effectively, yes, we have quantum computer able to break the Shor algorithm. Is that putting the global industry at risk? Not for now, because a 22 key bits, you can figure out how weak it is and how safe you would be if you would be using that key using a standard computer. So more a storm in a teacup, if I may. However, this is where it gets interesting. If you assume that they are doubling that thing every 4 months, that means that we can break a 2K bits RSA encryption key in less than 10 years. So that is more guesswork than actual science. So I will not be relying on that too much. However, that 10 years is quite interesting for what is following. Here we get the joint statement of the EU members, so 18 EU members putting together a joint statement. So you get the German BSIs, the French ANSI, and 16 others agreeing to this paper for which you have the link for. So I do recommend you download that link, that file, and read it at your own pace. But for the sake of illustration here, there is an interesting thing which matches this 10-year time frame and 10-year price mark, which is among 37 international leading experts, right? So no guesswork. I mean, actual people who are recognized for the work they do. Out of these, 17 estimated that the risk of a crypto-relevant quantum computer will appear within a 10-year time frame, and that has a chance to happen more than 5%. So you might think, okay, still 95%, that's not going to happen. Fair enough. However, 10 of this same person, of the 37, responded that the likelihood of it to happen is more than 50% or more. So basically, big chance, I mean, 1 chance out of 2 really, that a quantum computer which is crypto relevant, so able to break the encryption, will be there in a 10 years time frame. So that is an important statement. When we look at the future, we cannot predict it. So will it ever happen? Maybe not. However, what we can say for sure is the space is super busy. So we have on a daily basis, and all of the information I've picked here, right, are only a couple of them, and they are all less than 1 year old. So every single week, if not every single day, there is something new happening in the media where, well, this computer breaks the 1000 qubits barrier. Microsoft is announcing a chip. So does Google, or the other way around, actually, regarding the time scale. So a lot of information and a lot of research towards that thing. However, if you look at, well, I was having some, I would say, fun when I read that thing from the Wall Street Journal back in February this year again. Quantum computer is closer than ever. Everybody's too busy to pay attention, which is a real thing. I mean, at the moment, the organization are more looking at what that can bring, what could be the thing, instead of taking effective action. And that is a bit scary, to be honest, when we know what is coming. So if you look at Europol last month, so that is effectively in February this year, they put together this call for action, which was aimed at the financial institution, and they called it, I mean, the words are important, urgent plan is needed to transition to post-quantum cryptography. So, I mean, if Europol is saying it to the global finance mechanism, you can feel that there is some kind of, I wouldn't say emergency, but requirement to take it more serious. If I get back to the joint statement of the EU partners, they recommend that the organism, the organization, yourself, your partners, your customer, should be protected against the HNDL as soon as possible, and the latest for it should be 2030. So that is good. All of that is moving towards the right direction, which leads, and this is a statistic for the world from the World Economic Forum, which is from January 2025. 40% of organizations are taking proactive steps to understand the quantum threat. So that is not yet action, this is getting educated. So they are seeking for information, they are seeking for guidance. And maybe you are, by listening to me today or over a recording. So we are all on that journey, and we need to act now. One thing that I haven't taken for the slide, because that is quite recent, if you are from the UK says 2028 should be your deadline for being able to have a proper plan for migrating toward PQC. This is a UK statement, which is like, a couple of days old. So all of the statements are converging the same way towards the same deadline. So why is that? PQC is now a standard. I mean, before August 2024, which is really less than a year, so quite new, admittedly, we have had no standards. So what to do when you don't get a standard? That is admittedly quite complicated. In August 2024, the three first standards have been standardized. So we are now able to migrate effectively to post-quantum cryptography with things that are, well, I would say future-proof, but I will immediately revert to what I say by adding a pinch of salt, because we are recommending to move toward PQC in a hybrid fashion. So hybrid is crucial in that journey, because the standards are less than a year old compared to the old good RSA, which we have been using for a good 50 years, which has been widely attacked, which has been widely used, and we know is robust until a crypto-relevant quantum computer does emerge, obviously. However, we don't have the confidence level for the MLKM, MLDSA, for example, or SLHDSA type of algorithm, like we have with RSA. So this is where all agencies are recommending to move toward hybridization, which is using together the standard algorithms that we are using today, plus the new one, in order to have one safety mechanism in case one breaks. So if we get a quantum relevant, crypto relevant quantum computer, let's say in 3 years from now, we have the quantum safe algorithm, which is going to be save our data. And the other way around, in case the post-quantum computer algorithm gets breaked, we still have the RSA, which is securing our data. So hybridization, that is very important in the scheme that we are in. And until we are confident enough on the new standards, that will be for the foreseeable future. One thing that agencies are beginning to speak of more and more is, instead of hybridizing RSA together with the PQC algorithm, is hybridizing PQC algorithms together. But this is still proactive and future work. So we have effectively a deadline in order to make that thing happen. And this deadline is really less than 10 years. So if you look at the table on the right-hand side, you can see that elliptic curve and RSA are both deprecated after 2030, so less than 5 years obsolete, right? And within 10 years, which is really 2035, are disallowed. And if you have a product which is FIPS certified, you are at risk of losing your FIPS certification, which probably you don't want. So all of that is big concern, and this is racing towards this milestone where we need to have acted. And this is not only, we will see that, a switch from one algorithm to another, and we are getting together for making that happening. When we look at the value, so you can read that on your own. Again, I will not be commenting every single one of them, but you get a lot of big names in there, right? I mean, ranging from the White House to the BSI, through Gartner, and obviously the French ANSI, and even the bank, right? Everybody's saying, well, let's accelerate. Let's address that post-quantum cryptography thing. Let's add hybridization. Let's transition to the new standard as soon as you can. And I mean, all of that is putting, obviously, a sense of urgency, because again, that is not one thing which is happening overnight. So the good thing is, for you as a partner, and hopefully as a partner with us, there is a business opportunity for it. So here I have an illustration of, on the left-hand side, you get the global quantum computing market size ranging from 2021 to 2030, and this is in billions of American dollars. So what this research, which is by Precedence Research, saying, and you get the link if you want to get the full study, they are projecting that this business is going to be under $25 billion US dollar within 5 years. Okay, CryptoNext is not doing quantum computing, but we are operating in a subset of this market, which is the post-quantum cryptography market, where we can be together. And here I have a study from Markets and Markets, which is saying, well, CAGR from 2024 to 2027 will be 44.2%. And you can see that quite clearly over rather flat market from 2023 to 2024 to this big spike happening in 4 years from now. So what does that mean? That is a market to take now. So you may think, okay, 44%, okay, that is not bad at all, but that is expectable from a market which is just emerging, and you will be right. So this is where it gets interesting when you compare this market with what is very trendy in our market, which is AI. So here I have, look at the first two ones. PQC, post-quantum cryptography, close to 45%, 44.2. AI is less than 25. And yet everybody's speaking about AI. Not everybody's speaking about PQC, where the growth opportunity is actually much larger. So absolutely not something we should be shy of, instead of something which is a genuine business opportunity together. So how do we address that? Let's have a quick look of our offering and what we can offer in order to make that thing happening. So first and foremost, I want to say that we are currently working at a maturity model where we're gonna guide you and your customer against what is a post-quantum posture, what is a crypto agility posture, in case you are, for example, crypto novice and you want to go the next step, and where you stand in that thing and where you should be looking at for what is the next step. So all of that is things that we are going to provide to you as a partner, obviously, so we can get together towards the customer. So now, regarding the migration journey, and when we are approaching a project by a customer. So like I said, there is a lot of education required. And remember, 40% of them are currently figuring out what are the risks associated with quantum threat. So it has to start with an evaluation. So this evaluation is really measuring or evaluating the impact of a PQC and in hybridization within the use case that we're going to decide together with the customer. So from a customer standpoint, it's understanding what would be the impacts, because, for example, I have this VPN with a business partner, which is very confidential information. So this is my big rock, and I want to address that, right? So we will be evaluating together with them what will be the impact with their VPN consent reader, for example. So this is usually a step which is a one-off, where we are doing that evaluation for getting to education of the customer. Then we are entering this virtuous circle. And we start usually by discovering, because guess what? Nobody knows where their crypto assets are. So this is virtually a compulsory step to do. Then we can remediate from what we know, from what we discovered, and then we can manage. So this is effectively what we are doing at CryptoNext for getting together on this migration journey with you as a partner, obviously, for the customer. So if I flatten that and put it towards a product offering, so here you find, again, the evaluation, discovery, remediation, and management stuff, right? With obviously the arrows that you can figure out. So what's in it for that in terms of product? So obviously we have off-the-shelf product, and we have other products that are aimed at either OEMing. So for you as a vendor, for example, I know we have a couple of manufacturers, so we can bring our solution to your product, so you can have a final product which is embedding our technology in order to make it PQC or quantum safe. So this is OEM type. But we have integration as well, where you may well be working with a customer who has their application and they need to integrate a quantum safe library, for example, or they are producing a card for the embedded sector, or you name them, right? So we can definitely do that. But we have off-the-shelf product as well. So as part of the evaluation, we are not providing product as per se, meaning that they are not aimed at going in production, but they are tools that you as a partner can have access to, obviously, in order to make the evaluation happening. So we have, for example, a TLS tunnel. We have an IPsec gateway. We have Outlook plugin in order to secure an email from end to end with post-quantum cryptography. So those tools are aimed at conducting the evaluation, and let's be clear about that. They will be, for the foreseeable future, tools and not product. So for example, as part of this toolbox, we have a PKI, which is an EGBCA, which is supporting the various certificates format, and we do not plan whatsoever for becoming a PKI vendor. So instead of us keeping supporting that tool, which we have been adapting for meeting the demand and the requirement of the customer posture, we do rely on the PKI vendors who are making their products to evolve in order to be able to generate any type of certificate. And we are providing a discovery platform with a network prop for a customer to be able to understand, okay, where are my crypto assets? I will come to that in a minute. And then, and I do insist on this then, we will be able to manage that into a crypto agile management framework. Right, so evaluation, why do we do that? Assessing the impact of the transition to PQC for a given customer and a given use case. So understanding the impact, like I said, for example, VPN concentrator, if you have a VPN concentrator which is aimed at admitting, for example, 3,000 simultaneous users, and suddenly with PQC, you need to double the infrastructure size for whatever reason, or maybe you can narrow it because the PQC algorithms are more efficient. I mean, all of that is things that you will be knowing from this phase. So how do we do that? The tools that I've been mentioning in order to analyze what we're going to do and get to produce reports for the evaluation process. Then discovery. I will be spending a bit more time on that because this is absolutely crucial. Discovery is effectively a product which is off the shelf. So you as a partner can resell it from CryptoNext. This is a product that gives visibility over what is unknown. If you visit a customer tomorrow, you ask them, what are your cryptographic assets? I mean, it's very much likely that you will be asking a question that nobody within the organization can answer. Because for the last decades, we have been using cryptography, state-of-the-art cryptography, without having much concern. Should I be using something different from RSA? Are my keys robust enough for this secondary service? I mean, all of these things are commodities. And as every commodities, they are not very well documented. This is the posture, the state of virtually every single customer out there. So with discovery, we are effectively bringing that visibility of the unknown. So we are collecting cryptographic data from various sources, and we do that through a network probe, and we are building a CBOM database. So let me elaborate a bit on CBOM. You may well be familiar with SBOM, SBOM, which is software bill of materials. So basically having an inventory of your various software, who is using when, blah, blah, this kind of thing, right? So understanding among your application what you are doing. The equivalent to that in the crypto world is the CryptoBOM. So effectively a bill of material, an inventory if you want, of those crypto assets, what is using crypto, for which purpose, in which format, so which certificate, I mean, all of those things. And this is something which is standardized. So CBOM is a standard format. So we are putting together in the CBOM database, which is actionable through an API, obviously. All the data that we can get from our own network probes and maybe other probes as well. So really a visibility, like a 360 visibility over a crypto thing that nobody's managing nowadays. So you can start to see where the value of that is when you have to manage a transition toward PQC. If you don't know where to start from, this is your key for getting to education on where are your big rocks and where you should be starting. Because you may well have people who will believe, well, this is the thing that we need to take care of. And they may well be missing the obvious other thing which has never been documented or which is not as obvious. So quite important. So once that is done, we are obviously remediating either on our own or with our partner ecosystem. So by either providing our CryptoAgile library in order to upgrade your application, for example, which is, by the way, NIST and FIPS compliant, as well as EU regulation. So let me name here FRODOChem, for example. Yes, we are supporting it. And we are supporting algorithms that will be standards tomorrow. And EU required. This is our commitment. So we do that with off-the-shelf product on our own, and we are bringing our technology in third-party vendor, like I mentioned, in order for them to be having our library. So for example, within HSM, we are partnering with Trustway, Atos, Evident, and we are in their HSM for everything PQC. This is one example of where we are doing OEM and providing our technology for remediation. And finally, managing that thing, because like I briefly said, but that is not a technical webinar, RSA was a good one-size-fits-all. PQC is a different beast. So there is not such a thing as one algorithm for every single need. That is a bit more different. And the management will enable you for creating a CCOE, so Cryptographic Center of Excellence, that will effectively oversee the whole policies and infrastructure, either among your customer if you want to provide that as a service, or within your customer if they want to build it. And that will enable them to prioritize their tasks based on criticality level of crypto assets and fostering a crypto agile environment, because this is the future of cryptography. This is my one before last slide. So last news that we are at CryptoNest quite proud of. So we are the first EU company to receive the NIST CAVP certification for all 3 standardized quantum safe algorithm. This is the news from last week. We are super happy with it, super proud of it, and a huge congrats to our team for making that happening. So in a nutshell, well, we are willing to partner with you. We need to have partners for serving the market demand. You can, you could see, I believe, you could feel how big of a challenge it will be for our customer to address that thing, how big of an opportunity it is for you as a partner for getting on board together with us for aiming at serving them. You have a unique opportunity of not being another XYZ vendor saying the same thing, but effectively bringing something new towards their reflection. Remember, 40% of them are currently addressing their knowledge or lack of knowledge regarding what is the quantum threat. So you have this opportunity for educating them, effectively selling product by partnering with us as, we believe, a champion, and in order to serve the market. So in a nutshell, very happy to welcome you in our partner ecosystem and looking forward doing a ton of business together. Thank you very much for listening until that point, and I will now pause for a second while I am opening the question pane so I can address outstanding question. So meanwhile, you have in GoToWebinar the Q&A panel. Just open it and type any questions that you may have, and if I can, I will be answering it live. And obviously, you get all my details in case there is something that you want to take offline. Right. So you mentioned on your slides that the global market would be $125 billion. That seems to be a bit high. Well, that is not a study from CryptoNext. I take no credit in that number. I have no judgment on whether it is high or low, to be honest. What is important is I did check and cross-check like a lot. What is the PQC market that we are discussing and how big of an opportunity it is for us together as a partner. And that one, I can be very sure that, yes, there is such a thing as an opportunity for us. Regulation agencies are recommending hybridization instead of pure PQC. Do you propose solutions that enables hybridization? Yes, we do. Well, first and foremost, our library is obviously PQC ready, so we are implementing the PQC algorithm and the others, right? So we can definitely do hybridization. And just one thing about that. Among the tools that I have mentioned, there is a tool which is usually compulsory when we are defining a POC with the customer, which is a PKI. And the PKI, we are currently on the market. There is no such a thing as a PKI off the shelf, which is supporting every single of the certificate format. So we have at CryptoNext upgraded EGBCA community version so it can support every single format of algorithm, of certificate, sorry. So we can bring that PKI as a study as part of the evaluation tool. However, we will not be a PKI vendor, and that is important. Right, couple of questions from Stephen, actually 3 questions. What level of risk analysis is provided to the customer? Is it red, orange, green screen, or is there a full risk analysis with impact? Right. So what we are doing as part of discovery is we are effectively displaying what is going to be used in terms of cryptography for a given thing. Then the judgment of it is red, orange, and green, that is the customer judgment. We don't know. I mean, what are they using their crypto for? This is not us who will be telling that. We will effectively enable a CISO, for example. So you can assume a global organization CISO willing to look at the branch office policies and spotting something off. That is a possibility, or the other way around, complying with global policies. But the severity, I would say, is not something we do. Do you have to use your crypto? I'm not sure I understand the question. Sorry for that. Do you have to use your crypto library? I believe the question is, do we have to use your crypto library? Well, that depends for what. If you want to, well, obviously implement crypto in a PQC manner with standardized and certified algorithm, as we currently have, that will be a yes. We are not the sole on the planet doing it, obviously. And regarding discovery, is the usage of the crypto library required? That is a no, because discovery is basically auditing what you are doing with or without our tools. Do you support blockchain? I couldn't tell. I can take the question offline and get back to you. Right. Thank you for those additional questions. There is another one which is, hello, I've been a bit late, and will there be another diffusion of this webinar? I'm afraid no, that is not planned, but this webinar has been recorded and you will be receiving a version of it in your inbox if you want to replay it, obviously. And while I am at it, please feel free to share the link to your colleagues or someone you believe would be interested, because that will obviously open the access to the recording as well. Right, I believe that's it. If there is any other question, feel free to use the Q&A panel. And there is another one. In terms of quantum threat assessment, partner can contact Atos Evidence. Oh, obviously, yes. Well, I should have read the advertisement you made of your business before I am reading until the end. But yes, obviously. But you give me actually a very good occasion of what we want to bring together. So instead of naming one partner in particular, should it be good, we believe at CryptoNext that there is no such a thing as one partner who can do all the things. The PQC migration or upgrade is such a big thing for the global businesses that we need to be more than one in order to address it at scale. So we need you as a partner listening to me today and listening to the webinar in a couple of days or a couple of months from now. We need you for being able to address the guidance that our customer will be needing. Again, they have been living in that world without much consciousness of they will be required to change. And now is the time to address this change. And they need guidance to be efficient. They need to get education. We at CryptoNext have this education, and we want to transfer it to you as a partner, because you will be able to serve the customer. Us on our own or us with another partner will not be sufficient. We need to be many of us in order to scale. And this is definitely our roadmap. So as I see no other question coming, I will be thanking you a lot for listening to me today. Once more, you have all my details on this slide. Feel free to get back to me at any point in time, either via LinkedIn, email, or telephone. And very happy to be with you on this journey, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for your business. Thank you even more for the business we are going to do together for the months and years to come. And meanwhile, have a very great day. Thank you very much. Bye now.